Last month, I set one simple boundary with a friend. I said, I can't talk after 10 p.m. because I need sleep for work. Within 2 days, I went from trusted confidant to selfish, cold, unavailable. That wasn't a one-off. I kept seeing the same reaction everywhere. Different people, same response. And when I started paying attention, I realized something unsettling. A lot of people aren't just difficult anymore. They're operating from a completely different emotional baseline than they used to. And if you don't understand what's driving this shift, you're going to keep getting hurt by it. Over the next 20 minutes, I'm breaking down 3 forces creating what I call an empathy recession. Not everyone is affected, but enough people are that you've probably felt it. More importantly, I'm giving you 4 concrete tools to protect your energy without becoming cold or cynical yourself. And tool number 2, the 3R filter, is the reason you'll stop overinvesting in people who never reciprocate. Because here's what matters. Understanding these patterns doesn't just protect you, it gives you clarity in a world where most people are operating on autopilot. So, let's get into it. Here's something I didn't expect to say 5 years ago. A noticeable portion of people I interact with seem emotionally unavailable, even when they're physically present. And I don't mean they're rude, I mean there's something missing, like they're going through the motions of connection without actually connecting. Have you felt that? You're talking to someone? They say all the right words, but you walk away feeling more alone than before the conversation started. There's a reason for this, and it starts with something simple: overstimulation. Most people never get a clean moment of silence anymore. You wake up scrolling, you drive with podcasts, you work through endless notifications, you collapse into streaming. Here's what most people don't realize. This is a nervous system issue. Your brain wasn't designed to process this volume of input. When you overload a circuit, it blows a fuse, right? Your emotional system does something similar. It shuts down to protect itself. Researchers call this emotional numbing. It's your nervous system's way of surviving overwhelm. But here's the catch. You can't numb your own feelings without numbing your empathy. It's the same mechanism. When your nervous system never powers down, empathy becomes a luxury. Let me give you a test. Think about the last time you sat with a difficult emotion without trying to escape it. Not distracting yourself with your phone, not blaming someone else, not numbing it with food or Netflix or shopping. Just sitting with sadness or frustration or disappointment and letting yourself actually feel it. When was the last time you did that? If you can't remember, you're running from your inner life. And when you're running from yourself, you can't show up for anyone else either. I saw this play out last week. A colleague asked how I was doing. I started to give a real answer, not just fine, and I could see her eyes glaze over within 10 seconds. She wasn't being mean. She genuinely couldn't handle anything beyond surface level because she's so maxed out herself. That's what I mean by scripted connection. People know how to perform the ritual of asking how are you, but they don't have the bandwidth to actually care about the answer. Quick tool right now. If someone asks how are you, but you feel they can't hold a real answer, give them a 2-sentence truth. Honestly, it's been heavy. I'm okay, but I'm tired. Then stop. Watch what they do next. If they stay present, that's a green flag. If they pivot back to themselves, you just learned something. If this has been happening to you, you're not imagining it. You're picking up a pattern, and this creates a weird dynamic. You start to feel lonely even when you're surrounded by people, because everyone's there, but nobody's really present. Not because they're bad people, because they're emotionally tapped out. They're running on empty and trying to get through the day without breaking down. Connection requires energy they don't have. Here's where it flips from inconvenient to dangerous. If you've been blamed for not reacting fast enough, this explains why. Now let's talk about the second force, the validation economy. We've built a society where attention is currency, and a lot of people will do almost anything to get it. You post something on social media. Within seconds, you get feedback. Likes, comments, shares. Your brain releases dopamine. It feels good, so you post again. But here's the problem. Real relationships don't work like that. Real connection is slow. It's messy. It requires vulnerability and patience and effort. It doesn't give you instant validation. The real problem isn't social media. It's that people start expecting people to work like an algorithm. So what happens? Some people start treating real life like social media. They want instant responses to their needs. They want you to validate them immediately. They want emotional support, but they don't want to invest the time to build the foundation that makes support meaningful. And when you don't give them what they want right away, they move on. They find someone else who will. Because in the validation economy, people are interchangeable. You're not a person to them. You're a function. You're the one who makes them feel good about themselves. This creates something I've noticed more and more. People stop developing a real sense of self. Instead, they perform a self that gets attention. They don't ask, who am I really? They ask, who do I need to be to get engagement? And the version they perform is usually exaggerated, more confident, more successful, more put together than reality. The problem? They start believing their own performance. They confuse the image with the truth. And here's the trap. Authenticity starts to feel like an attack. So when you interact with them authentically and you don't reflect back the curated image they've created, they experience it as an attack. I'll give you an example. I know someone who posts constantly about their amazing relationship, perfect date nights, thoughtful gestures, couple goals energy. But in person, they've complained to me multiple times about feeling neglected and considering a breakup. When I gently pointed out the disconnect between what they post and what they're experiencing, they got defensive, accused me of being negative and unsupportive. Why? Because my honesty threatened the identity they've constructed online, and they'd rather lose a real friendship than face the truth about their situation. Here's the thing. This isn't about judging anyone. It's about understanding what's happening so you don't take it personally when someone reacts badly to your authenticity. They don't want closeness. They want a predictable emotional payoff. Quick tool. Don't argue with their performance. Ask one question. Do you want empathy or do you want validation? If they get angry at the question, you just learned what they were really here for. Some people don't want connection. They want regulation. They want you to help them maintain the illusion they've built. And when you can't or won't do that, the relationship falls apart. Not because you failed, because you refuse to participate in their performance. This next part will change how you interpret criticism. Now here's the third force, the erosion of consequences. In previous generations, if you treated people badly, word got around. Your reputation mattered because you lived in the same town, worked in the same company, belonged to the same circles. There was social pressure to behave decently because bad behavior had costs. But look at how things work now. People can ghost a group chat, block you, and show up in a new community tomorrow like nothing happened. The internet has made it possible to escape accountability indefinitely. And here's what this creates. It creates an environment where some people experiment with bad behavior, because why not? If there's no real downside, they might as well test boundaries, see what they can get away with. And every time they do it without consequence, they learn that it works. The behavior gets reinforced. It becomes strategy. But the lack of consequences means certain people never develop self-awareness. Think about how you grow as a person, usually through feedback, right? Someone tells you that you hurt them, you feel bad, you reflect, you try to do better. That process is how humans develop emotional maturity. But when you can avoid accountability altogether, that growth never happens. You stay stuck at whatever emotional age you were when you learned you could dodge responsibility. This is why you meet adults who react like teenagers. They've never had to sit with the weight of their impact on others. They've never been forced to grow up. And now they're moving through the world causing damage, completely unaware of the pain they leave behind. So the question isn't, how do I fix them? The question is, how do I stop paying the price for their patterns? If you only remember one sentence from this section, make it this. Your nervous system isn't broken, it's adapting. Your nervous system has changed. You're more guarded now, more cautious. You analyze people's intentions. You look for red flags early. You keep part of yourself protected, even with people you've known for years. And you might feel bad about this, like you're becoming cynical or closed off. But here's the truth. Your nervous system is adapting to real patterns. When you've been blindsided enough times, your brain learns to stay alert. It's not paranoia, it's pattern recognition. Your subconscious has noticed that boundary violations and emotional manipulation have become more common, and it's trying to protect you. The problem is, living in constant low-level vigilance is draining. It affects your sleep, your health, your ability to relax. You can't fully let your guard down because part of you is always scanning for emotional threats. And here's the cruel irony. The more you protect yourself, the harder it becomes to connect with the healthy people who do show up. Your walls don't discriminate. They keep everyone out, not just the people who would hurt you. So even the good relationships suffer because you can't risk being fully open anymore. This is what the empathy recession does. It doesn't just create more people stuck in defensive patterns. It makes everyone more defensive, and the cycle reinforces itself. Before we go further, let me give you something to look for. 3 green flags I look for now. They respect no the first time, they repair after conflict without excuses, and they don't punish you for having needs. Now, let's turn this into something you can actually use. Understanding what's happening gives you choices. You don't have to just react from fear or hurt. You can respond intentionally. So here are 4 tools that have helped me navigate this landscape without losing myself in the process. Tool 1. Get clear on what's your responsibility and what's not. You are not responsible for fixing emotionally undeveloped adults. You're not responsible for teaching people basic decency. You're not responsible for absorbing someone else's dysfunction just because they direct it at you. Your responsibility is to yourself, to protect your peace, to maintain your boundaries, to stay connected to your values even when everyone around you seems to have lost theirs. This means getting comfortable with being misunderstood. People stuck in defensive patterns will call you selfish for having boundaries. They'll call you cold for not engaging with their chaos. They'll call you difficult for refusing to let them control the narrative. Let them. Boundaries don't make you harsh. They reveal who benefits from you having none. Their opinion of you based on your refusal to be used is not your problem. Keep listening. This is the filter that saves you months of emotional debt. Tool 2. Practice selective investment. Not everyone deserves your full emotional presence. Some people have proven through repeated actions that they're not capable of reciprocating care, and continuing to pour energy into those connections isn't noble, it's self-destructive. You need to recognize the difference between someone going through a temporary hard time who needs support versus someone who's chronically dysfunctional and will drain you indefinitely without changing. I call it the 3R filter: responsibility, repair, reciprocity. Here's how it works. Ask yourself these 3 questions. 1. Does this person take responsibility for their impact on others? 2. When they hurt someone, do they genuinely repair the damage and change behavior, or do they just make excuses? 3. Do they reciprocate support, or is the relationship entirely one-sided? If the answers are no, no, and no reciprocity, limit your exposure. You can be kind without being available. You can be polite without being invested. Save your deep energy for people who've earned it through consistent reciprocity. If you've ever left a conversation feeling foggy, listen to this part. Tool 3. Build an emotional immune system. Just like your body has defenses against illness, your mind needs defenses against manipulation. This starts with learning to recognize manipulation tactics when they're happening. Love bombing. Someone overwhelms you with affection to get attached quickly. Gaslighting. Someone makes you question your own perception of events. Projection. Someone accuses you of the exact behavior they're guilty of. Name it fast, then return to what you observed. That's how you stay grounded. It also means developing a strong internal reference point. You need to know what you think and feel, independent of what other people tell you you should think and feel. Here's a practical exercise I use. When someone makes you feel confused or crazy, pause. Ask yourself,
What did I actually observe? Not what they said happened. What did I see and hear with my own eyes and ears? Write it down if you need to. Creating a record of objective facts helps you stay grounded when someone's trying to distort your reality. And if you notice that being around a specific person consistently makes you question yourself, that's not a sign you're weak.
That's a sign their behavior has a manipulative effect, whether they intend it or not. Tool 4. Accept that some people will never understand you, and that's okay. There's a certain type of person who can't comprehend operating from genuine care. They think everyone's manipulating everyone because that's how they move through the world. When you set a boundary, they assume you're playing a power game. When you're honest, they think you're being strategic. They literally cannot imagine that you might just be sincere. Trying to prove your authenticity to these people is a waste of time. They'll never believe you because their worldview can't accommodate the possibility that you're different from them. So stop trying. Being misunderstood is the entry fee for self-respect.
Let them think whatever they want. Your integrity doesn't require their validation. Focus instead on finding and nurturing relationships with people who get it, the ones who can meet you at your level of emotional honesty. They're not common, but they exist. And one relationship with depth is worth 100 surface-level connections. Here's what I need you to understand. You staying emotionally healthy in an increasingly dysregulated environment is not just self-care, it's resistance. Every time you choose honesty over performance, every time you maintain boundaries instead of collapsing to keep the peace, every time you stay grounded when everyone around you is reactive, you're proving that another way is possible. You're keeping the blueprint alive for what real human connection looks like. Don't let the prevalence of dysfunction convince you to lower your standards. Don't let the chaos around you harden your heart. Kindness without limits turns into resentment, but kindness with boundaries becomes sustainable. Stay soft where it counts. Stay firm where it matters. So here's the map. Overstimulation creates numbing. The validation economy creates performance. And consequence-free spaces create bad habits. Your job is simple. Boundaries, selective investment using the 3R filter, an internal reference point, and letting go of being understood. If this resonated, drop a comment and let me know which tool you're going to try first. And here's what I'm genuinely curious about. Have you noticed yourself becoming more guarded over the years, or have you managed to stay open? I want to hear your experience because we learn as much from each other as we do from any analysis. If you found this valuable, hit that like button and subscribe because we're going deeper into behavioral patterns and you don't want to miss what's next. And speaking of what's next, in the next video, I'm breaking down the specific psychological tactics that make you feel like you're the problem when you're not. The subtle manipulation moves that fly under the radar. The ones that make you question your sanity before you even realize what's happening. You're definitely going to want to see that. I'll see you there.